Hey friends, it is that time of year, and I am really excited about these primitive farmhouse Halloween DIYs I have to share with you. They're more cute than spooky, so come craft with me. I'm Sarah, and welcome to my channel, Primrose Lane Prims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and crafting with me in the future. And now let's get to these Halloween DIYs. For this first DIY, we're going to use this little wood crate that came from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to start off by giving it a coat of just orange paint. This is just acrylic orange paint. This is actually Dollar Tree's acrylic orange paint. Works great for this. Whatever you have on hand, though, will be perfect. But we're going to be using this crate to make a little reversible pumpkin shadow box. One side will be just a general fall, and the other side can be for Halloween. Now, since we'll be using both sides of this, I'm also going to paint the inside of the box because you will see it. So you want to make sure it's covered as well. Once my orange is dry, I'm going to go with my Waverly Antique Wax, and I want to distress this because I want this to be a rustic, primitive looking pumpkin. So I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm going to start dry brushing it around my edges of my box, and I'm going to go all around. I want to do all sides because you're going to see this, be able to use this from all sides. So we want inside, outside, all around distressed. If you're not a fan of distressing, then you could also just skip this step. On the sides of these crates, I want to be sure to get down in these grooves really good. When you look at older distressed pieces, the edges, your grooves, those are always where the most wear, tear, and just aging tends to occur. So I want to focus for sure on the edges as well as these grooves that are along the sides of my little crate here, and the handles, the little handle pieces as well. Now, like I said, we are going to be making this like a little shadow box on one side, so you will be seeing the inside. So we want to make sure the inside is distressed as well. And here's what it looks like once it's all done. Now for the stem of these, I'm going to be using a paper bag pumpkin stem. A few weeks ago, I did a video on how to make these. I'll link that in the description box below if you're new and maybe missed that one. But I'm going to use one of these paper bag pumpkin stems that I already had made for the stem of my pumpkin. And I'm going to have to cut down the top of it here just a little bit. It was a little bigger than what I wanted to, kind of hung over the top of my crate a little bit. But I'm just going to use one of these stems and I'm just going to hot glue it right down on the top of my crate as my stem. And if you hear a couple little woofs in the background, I do apologize. My little puppy Molly is sitting on my lap and she thought she heard a noise, and being the good guard dog she was, she decided to give a very inopportune little barks there. So sorry about that. Next, I'm going to take and put some hot glue around the base of my stem here, and I'm going to add some Spanish moss around because I absolutely love Spanish moss for fall projects. It is just such a rustic touch that, especially on pumpkins, I just absolutely love how that rustic charm adds to a piece. So here's what each side is looking like. Now for the inside on our little shadow box portion, which will be our Halloween side, I'm going to take and add some more Spanish moss right here to the bottom, and then I'll just trim off any of the excess that's hanging out the front. Now around the stem here, I'm also going to take some of these pip berries. This is actually a large cream colored pickberry pick I had, and I kind of broke it apart, and I'm using to wrap around the stem here. I'm just wrapping the wire stem around and letting those pip berries kind of dangle up and around. Pip berries you can find these on Amazon, Factory Direct, even KP Creations, I believe. I'll leave links in the description box for places. Now I'm going to take these little pumpkin cutouts. These are from the Dollar Tree as well. They have regular pumpkin, just general fall ones, and they also have Halloween packs. And they actually have little stickers on the back. But I'm going to take one of these larger plain wood pumpkins. I'm going to take my antique wax and I'm just going to go around the edges of this, and I'm going to just distress it, but I'm going to leave a lot of the natural wood showing. I just want my edges to have a little bit of distressing. Now the other one I'm going to use for this is going to be a little jack-o'-lantern out of the Halloween pack. And I didn't get it on camera and I apologize, but I covered the entire jack-o'-lantern in the Waverly Antique Wax. So the large pumpkin has some of the natural wood showing, whereas the jack-o'-lantern is the solid antique wax, as in like a light stain. Now these have those little stickers on the back, and I left that on there, but I wanted to add some hot glue to make sure that these did not come apart. It also adds a little bit of separation to the two, adds a little extra dimension. And then I'm just going to take and I'm going to hot glue these right down into my little box right in the middle of my Spanish moss. If you're somebody who doesn't decorate for Halloween, you could just use 2 of the plain pumpkins instead of the jack-o'-lantern. So this is easily transformed into a non-Halloween piece as well. Now to finish off this side of the pumpkin, I'm just going to take some of this black and cream gingham homespun fabric, and I just ripped off a small piece and I'm just tying a simple shoestring like bow. And I'm going to take and hot glue that right to the top of my pumpkin, right under the stem. The other side, that's just the plain pumpkin side, I decided I want to go back and I wanted to add a little more of the pip berries to drape down the front of my pumpkin. It was just a little too plain. So I went back and added a little bit extra stem here to wrap around to drape down. Now the Dollar Tree does sell just the like vines of pip berries, and you could absolutely use those as an alternative as well. I'll tell you, sometimes thrift stores, I can find pip berries in thrift stores as well that people maybe on a wreath or something. I may have to rip something apart, but I have found the garlands and things that you can break apart to use as these as well. There, another option of a place to find them. And look how cute. So we've got our little pumpkin side, and then come Halloween time, just flip it right around and you've got a versatile decoration for a shelf or a tiered tray. I absolutely love how this little primitive Halloween pumpkin turned out. You can let me know what your thoughts are, or if you plan to try one of these. For this next DIY, I'm just going to be taking one of these terracotta pots that come from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to give it one good coat of just some orange paint. I'm once again just using this orange acrylic paint that's from the Dollar Tree. Nothing special, to just give this one coat of orange paint because we're going to be using this little terracotta pot to make a cute little jack-o'-lantern. If you're enjoying this video so far, I hope you'll give this video a like, and if you haven't done so already, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button to craft with me in the future. It's completely free, and if you hit the little notification bell, YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. That way you don't miss out on any future fun, budget-friendly DIYs for around the home. Now for the stem of my little pumpkin here, I'm taking, this is actually one of the little pre-cut stems that you can get from the Dollar Tree. Back in the crafters section, they have little bags of them. You could also just grab a stick from your yard though, and it would work just as well. I just found this, I had had it in my craft stash, I decided I would use it. Next, I'm going to add some Spanish moss around the top because y'all know I love my Spanish moss. Now for the base of our pumpkin, I'm just going to use a black Sharpie marker here, and I'm just going to freehand draw just a cute little jack-o'-lantern face. You could also use a paint pen here if you have one of those, that would work too, but I find that this Sharpie marker works perfect. And if you're not sure what kind of jack-o'-lantern face, you can always look online. There's all kinds of clip art and little different jack-o'-lantern faces. Pinterest, there's a ton as well to get ideas of what's a cute little face. I'm just going to draw your classic little triangle eyes, upside down triangle nose, and I'm going to give this little guy a goofy little smile. He's going to be my cute, goofy little jack-o'-lantern. I like to go for more cute Halloween decorations more so than scary. I have kids, so naturally I like to put a few things up, and but I don't like anything too creepy or too scary that could give my little ones, some nightmares or be afraid to walk into a room. So a cute little jack-o'-lantern with a goofy little smile is perfect. See, happy, cute little jack-o'-lantern. Now, I want to distress this a little bit because, of course, I love my rustic distress primitive farmhouse look. So I'm just going to go in with my Waverly Antique Wax, and once again, I'm just going to dry brush around the terracotta pot. We're going to make this little cutie. He's a little rustic pumpkin that's maybe sat outside on the porch a little while. He's just a little bit distressed, little bit signs of age, wear and tear. Now next, I have just this piece of twine. This is actually just a piece of coiled twine. It actually comes off a project that I'll be doing later on in this video, and it was just naturally coiled. You can also get the same effect by taking twine and wrapping around, say, a dowel rod or a pencil and covering it with Mod Podge and letting it dry, and it will coil. When you pull it off, it will be coiled. I've used that multiple times on pumpkins over the years as well. But I already had this one. It was already coiled, so I figured why not use it. And I'm just going to tie this right around my stem, and that's going to be my little pumpkin tendrils. You could also use the wired jute twine from the Dollar Tree. That would also be a perfect, and then you don't have to go and actually coil the twine. Now to finish this off, I'm just going to take this black and white gingham ribbon. This is from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to tie a really simple shoestring little bow here. And I'm going to want to dovetail my ends, of course. And then I'm just going to hot glue this right to the top, right underneath the stem of my little pumpkin to finish him off. If you're not sure how to dovetail, all you have to do is fold your ribbon in half and cut at a diagonal towards the outside edge. And it gives your ribbon a nice finished little edge there. This little guy is so stinking cute. I absolutely love how he turned out. And these are also a really great perfect size for tiered tray. You can even use larger pots and do these in multiple sizes. For this next DIY, we are going to be using just a stick from the yard and some raffia and some twine to make a really cute little witch's broom. These are great size to pop on tiered trays or to maybe just lean up against a pumpkin on a shelf, but I'm just going to take my raffia here. And I'm going to take about a 3 to 4 inch section of raffia and then double it over. My edges are a little bent here because my raffia was bent, but I'm just going to fold it over like that and then cut that off. Once I do that, I'm going to take the top section here where it was folded over, and I'm going to cut that apart. And just be sure to do it when you're doing this. Just keep a good grip on your raffia there so that it doesn't fall all over the place or you lose your grip. Once you get your stick, this is about a 7-8 inch little stick. And decide which section you want to be your top and bottom. I like the little crooked part to make the top kind of goes to a little broom character. And I'm going to add some hot glue to the bottom 2 inches or so of my stick. And then I'm going to lay my raffia kind of at a little flat and just squeeze it around and that hot glue. Now don't let go of it yet because that hot glue is not going to hold every little single piece of this raffia. So if you let go of it right at this very second, you might lose some pieces. And you see even here, I lost a few strands. I'm popping back in there. But we're going to reinforce this and it won't go anywhere when we're done. I'm going to take this thin jute twine. This is just the thinner stuff you can find at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to hot glue the end and I'm going to wrap this around the top, about a ½ inch or so down from the top of the raffia. Got my little hot glue stringies there. My end was sticking up a little bit. Had to hot glue it back down there. But then just wrap that around. There's no exact set amount of times, just until it looks a good point to you. And it's nice and secure. And then just hot glue back down your end. See? Look how cute. This is such a budget-friendly, inexpensive, and really rustic, cute decoration to pop on, like I said, a shelf or a tiered tray for Halloween. And sometimes the more variations in your sticks, the even more character it adds. To finish this off, I'm just going to take one of these paper tags from Amazon, and I'm just going to write Hocus Pocus on it. I've also wrote the word boo or October 31st. So you could get creative with whatever you want to put on your little tag. But I like Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is one of my favorite Halloween movies. My kids absolutely love it. It's one of those things every year we have to sit down and watch as a family. Any other Hocus Pocus fans out there? I'm just going to take this little piece of twine and I'm going to tie it off or put it through my little tag here because I'm going to use that twine to tie it off. But I also want to distress my tag a little bit. It looks just a little too pristine for me. So I'm going to crinkle it up here, give it some wrinkles, and add a little bit of my Waverly Antique Wax around the edges and along the center just to distress this and give it a little bit more aged paper look. Maybe this is a miniature broom of one of the Sanderson sisters. Once I have it done, I'm going to finish tying my twine around my tag, and then I'm just going to tie this right here to the base of the broom, right above where the raffia starts. Then you can just adjust your tag to a place that looks good to you so you can see the words and trim off that extra twine that's hanging over. And here you go. An adorable little witch's broom that cost you just pennies to make. For this one, we're going to do a little bit of a thrift flip here. This is just a little cutting board. I got it at my local thrift store for 50 cents. It kind of was a little broken there on the back, but no big deal. It looks like it maybe came from Dollar Store maybe originally. I'm not sure. But I'm going to start here by taking off this twine that's wrapped around the top. And this may look a little familiar, this twine, because you saw it being recycled and the terracotta pumpkin. You see it's nice and twirled there from being wrapped around this cutting board. I want to start by giving this cutting board a couple coats of orange paint. And like I said, once again, I'm just using this acrylic orange paint from the Dollar Tree. It's not going to completely cover that giant U that's in the middle, but that's okay because we're going to be doing some major paint layering on this one. We're going to make this a really, really rustic, really chippy paint kind of looking project. So that's okay. This is just going to be our base layer color. And I'm going to do both the front and the back of my project. And here's coat 2. Takes on a little more of an orange color. That first layer over that gray kind of gave it a real kind of muted look. I wanted it to have a little more truer orange color underneath. Once this is dried somewhat, I want to leave this while it's still a little bit tacky. I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in the color white. And I'm using chalk paint here specifically because it's thicker. And I'm using a little bit of a harder bristled brush. And while that orange paint is tacky, you're going to see it's starting to smear a little bit. It's pulling. That hard bristle brush with this thicker chalk paint on top, it's going to pull that orange paint underneath. And it's going to give this a really pretty scraped, chippy paint effect. And I'm putting this on a little thick here in places too, because I do want it to have the white color and not just be completely smeared paint. I do want the white. So I am putting it on a little thick. And then I'm just going to continue to kind of brush over it with this harder bristled brush. And that tacky orange paint underneath, look at it. Look how it'll just start pulling away a little bit and getting that chippy paint look. I absolutely love how this paint is turning out so far. And I'm going to do the white on the front and the back as well. After I let that dry a while, I'm going to take some Waverly Antique Wax because we're not done with the layering yet. And I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm going to go over and dry brush that over top of the white and the orange. We want this even more rustic, even more distressed. I'm using a soft bristle brush on this too, let me note, because I don't want any more paint to pull or chip off. I just want this to be lightly dry brushed on. So this is a softer bristle brush that I'm using for my Waverly Antique Wax. I just want it to kind of blend and smear, not be as rough. Does that make sense? I hope so. And of course, don't forget the edges. For this little cutting board, I am going to once again do a cute little jack-o'-lantern face. And I'm going to take my black Sharpie marker to draw the outline of my face, but I'm not going to use the Sharpie marker to fill it in because this paint is a little thicker. It's a rougher, much rougher paint than say what was on the terracotta pot that we did. So I'm going to use actual paint to paint the jack-o'-lantern face on. I'm just going to use this marker to draw my outline. And this is just a classic little happy jack-o'-lantern face. And then next I'm just going to go with a small brush. I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint in the color ink and I'm just going to fill these in. These little cutting boards, I find these all the time, see them at thrift stores. Now, while I have my black chalk paint out, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to dry brush another little layer of paint distressing here. I'm just going to use the black to lightly dry brush around as well and add another color layer distressing to this. Now I'm going to add a little messy bow to the top of my cutting board here. So I'm just going to kind of measure across the top approximately what it'd be, and then I'll just use this to measure out the rest of my ribbon. So I'm going to take this buffalo check, black and white buffalo check. This is just 1.5-inch wired ribbon. This one came from Hobby Lobby, I believe. And dovetailing my ends. And I'm also going to use this white and burlap chevron. This is from the Dollar Tree. It's also 1.5-inch wired. Oh, my little dovetailing pieces everywhere. Also going to add this lace ribbon. This is also from the Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to add the Farmhouse stripe ribbon. That's from the Dollar Tree, as well as a little thin decorative burlap one from the Dollar Tree. Well, as I was laying this out, I decided, you know what? That white was a little too bright, and I wanted the burlap maybe to show through a little more. So I flipped that ribbon upside down. I just put the white part on the back side so that it just kind of toned that down a little bit. But once I have all my pieces cut, I'm just going to start laying these out, just kind of in a crisscross. And I'm going to just layer my ribbons to what looks good to me. And I'm even dovetailing these little small ones too. They're a little harder to do, but they can be done. Sometimes I have to play around with my ribbon to see which ones I like on top, which ones, and I will move them around till I get what looks good to me. Now, once they're all laid out, I'm just going to grab it here in the center and scrunch it together. And I'm going to take a piece of twine and I'm going to tie that tightly around it to tie it off. And I want to leave my tails of my twine here a little longer because I'm going to use that to tie it around the handle of my little cutting board here. So I want to leave my tails long enough that I can do that. It's just a little added extra security. I'm also going to hot glue it in place where I want it, but the twine also adds it a little bit of extra security to the hot glue. Now to the center of my bow, I want to add a button. This is just the pack of buttons that you can get at the Dollar Tree in the crafter section. And I'm just going to pick out a black button to go right in the center. I started with this really large one, but then that might be a little too big. So I dropped down a size. I'm just going to hot glue that right to the center of my bow to finish it off. This little cutting board turned out so cute, and it's perfect to add to a kitchen, to add just a little bit of Halloween flair to your kitchen during October. For this last DIY, we're going to once again be using one of these wood crates from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to remove the sticker there on the bottom. But for this one, I'm going to give it a coat of my Waverly Antique Wax. I'm going to use this more as a stain for this box. And I only need to stain the outside. The inside will be covered, so it won't be necessary to do it. But I will do the top lip of it around the top. But the rest, we're just going to give it a coat of this Waverly Antique Wax, and then I will just use a rag, or you can use a paper towel, and just wipe off any of the excess so some of the wood grain shows through and this wax acts as more of a stain. If you have actual stain you'd rather use, then that's absolutely fine too. Whatever you have on hand. I like to use my Waverly Antique Wax because I always have a lot of this, so it's kind of like a little one-stop shop. I don't think you should have to go out and buy extra crafting supplies for stuff. So it's what I use a lot of the time because that's what I have on hand. It's great for distressing. It's great for staining. It's great for to work on wood or paper. So it's kind of my go-to. But any of y'all who've been watching me probably have figured that out already. So here, like I said, I'm going to do around the top edge, but I don't need to do in the inside. And you want to make sure you get on the inside of those little handles too. They can they'll show through as well. But see, just wipe it down and it shows a little bit of that wood grain to come through. These little grooves can be especially difficult sometimes to get into. So put a little extra down in there trying to get in there. once my box is good and dry, I'm going to go in with this black and white gingham ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to hot glue it right here in this little center section of my box. And I'm going to wrap it around, keeping it in that center section. I'm even going to put a dab of hot glue on the other side to make sure that doesn't shift or move on me. And wrap it all the way around. Next, I'm going to go in with this thin jute twine once again, and I'm going to hot glue the end right where the two ends of my ribbon meet, and I'm going to wrap that right around the center of my ribbon. And I'm once again going to hot glue it on this other side here to keep it in place to ensure that it stays right in the middle of my ribbon and doesn't shift on me. Then just trim off the excess and tack it down with some hot glue. Next, I'm just going to take my ribbon here and I'm just going to tie a simple little shoestring bow. I'm just going to take and I'm going to hot glue my bow right over top of where the two ends of the ribbon and the twine meet. That'll hide that section right there so that it looks nice and complete all the way around the box. Then I'm just going to take and I'm going to trim off my excess edges of my ribbon and dovetail them. I want my bow to match the rest of my box, so I'm going to tie a little shoestring bow also out of my twine ribbon to hot glue right in the center of my black and white gingham ribbon. Now for the inside of my box, I have, in my Spanish moss, there was kind of these dried pine needles that were kind of mixed in my bag of Spanish moss. So I'm actually going to use those to stuff the bottom part of my box. You could also just use the Spanish moss itself. I know not every bag of Spanish moss has dried pine needles in it. So I couldn't find a better use for those dried pine needles. I thought this will actually be perfect because I'm going to take these little decorative jack-o'-lantern soaps, and you can find all different kinds of decorative soaps on Amazon, other places. Even if you didn't want jack-o'-lanterns, there's little fall leaves, a whole lot of different things. But inside this particular thing of soaps, it kind of has this dried hay looking stuff. There's a name for this and my brain cannot come up with what it is. I do apologize. If you can think of what it is, drop me a comment and let me know, because I cannot for the life of me come up with the name of this. But either way, I'm going to use what was in the package to mix in on top of those dried pine needles and add that little bit of lighter element on top. And then I'm going to take my little decorative soaps and I'm going to pop them right in here. But I really wasn't happy with the way those were looking. So I took, once again, this and I just kind of made like little individual nests for the jack-o'-lanterns. Because this is a cute little way to add little decorative soaps and a little bit of fall or Halloween touch to your bathroom. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of these pine needles and I'm just going to kind of mix the dark color in and around here to fill in the back a little bit more. And this is so cute. You can add different soaps each year, and it's a cute little way to display these adorable holiday soaps. So that's it for today's DIYs. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, I hope you'll consider giving this video a like. Maybe share it with your friends. And if you haven't done so already, I really hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button so that you can craft with me in the future. It's completely free. And if you hit that little notification bell, YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. That way you don't miss out on any future fun, budget-friendly DIYs for around the home. So until next time, happy crafting, friends.